All right, we got the bottom paint on yesterday. It's time to start installing the below the waterline mushrooms for the thru-hulls. Can't use any kind of solvents for cleaning up around here. We're using Sika 291. I went ahead and cut out the circle and masked it off, and then I can peel the masking later and clean up. I don't want to get sealant on the top thread. Just goop it up around the bottom of the mushroom and then screw it in with the handy dandy seacock tool. See what comes squeezing out. Make sure it's good and tight, nothing up on the inside. And supposedly this Sikaflex is paintable afterwards, because on all the bronze below the waterline, I do want to add a coat of bottom paint when we touch up the pads where the jack stands are and underneath the keel blocking, and just let that cure up, and then any excess you can actually scrape off pretty easily once it's cured. One down, several to go. So the last hole I need to drill in the boat is for our Keel Cooler. We have a Frigiboat refrigeration system, and currently it's air cooled in the lazarette, which is technically the engine room, which is always hot anyway. The Keel Cooler is just a big heat sink into the ocean. Whatever seawater temperature you got is what's cooling the refrigerator. Spotted a hole, found a place where I can run it through in the lazarette. Now I just got to drill 1.5-inch hole, put bedding compound on this, stick it up, tighten it down, and then plug in the refrigerant lines. Nice new black paint job.
How thick is it there?
Close to 3/4.
Oh yeah, that is thick.
It's fat. At least 3/4. They laid them up heavy.
It's good to know.
So with this line set and the copper tubing, you can't just jiggle it, wiggle it back and forth, or you'll work harden it, and then you'll end up splitting the line, breaking it. So just got to carefully unroll it.
Does it take 2 people to do this?
I'm going to need you down here holding it and feeding it up to me, and then I got to guide it through a couple of different holes in the floorboard. Once I get it in position and fed in, I'll leave it hanging down a little bit, and then I'll go with the I want to put masking tape around it first, and then I'll put Sikaflex. So I'm using Sika 291 like I did on everything that has penetrated the hull of our boat. I've seen people put it on the back side here.
Yeah? You gonna do that? Or you can do like a bead around it?
Well, I think it's redundant. It's a very tight fit in the hole, so most of this is going to come squeezing out.
What size hole did you cut?
1.5 inches.
What size hole did it say to cut?
1 9/16. But I watched a YouTube video about a dude installing these, and he used 1.5 inches, and it worked. I gave him a thumbs up for that. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what we're doing here.
Making it up as we go along.
A little yard video, yeah, no kidding.
And it doesn't interfere with the, I don't know, usability of this piece of metal?
With the coolability?
Yes. Does it say on the directions how to do it?
No, the directions are in Italian and German and English, and the English version doesn't translate so well. Is that there? Hang on, I gotta feed it a little more.
All right, you're getting close.
Are you lined up where you match the tape?
I do believe so. Just pull slowly. Oh, hey, you need
Is it on?
It's on. It needs to be drawn in.
Just tighten up the nut.
But I can't push it against the hole all the way.
It's either against the hole or it's not.
I guess it's not then.
Is that tipping better?
Yeah.
And then I'll just redirect the line set once I get it where I want it. Frigiboat has 2 different models of this Keel Cooler. This one's got zincs in it. Behind the nut, there's a ground plate that you can tie to the engine ground or whatever. All right, the next hole I got to fill in the boat is the transducer. It's the one mounted in this fairing block. This is just a direct replacement for the other BV744, I think is what it is. Got everything masked off. Just apply a liberal coat of sealant. The rest of it should be a fairly snug fit. So I guess we'll see how much comes squeezing out. Oh, hold on, babe. I've got to shove it way up in there. There's a lot of sealant in here. I can't get it all the way up in there. I think I've got too much goop. Yeah, wasn't sure how much to put on there. I think I got too much in there. Can you push it back down to me? Just a big old glob of it. All right, I'm gonna shove it up again. God, it just won't go. Way overkill. What a mess. Didn't exactly go as planned. I'm gonna try this one more time. Still not going. Like a 1/8 of an inch, 3/32 of an inch maybe. All right, I'm gonna come up in there and see if I can tighten the nut down. Yeah, that's the last of it. It's in now. Oh man. All that Sikaflex I wasted, and I still got to put in the yellow plug. I forgot about that. There's a little yellow plug that goes in the front hole where there's an anti-rotation bolt to keep this thing from snapping away from the hull. I guess I should have checked this one for fit too. There it goes. So you're supposed to use water-based anti-fouling on this transducer. It's potted in epoxy, so there's like no solvents, no acetone, especially acetone they say in the instructions. So transducer's installed. Found some transducer paint. I've got to paint the inside of the bronze where the paddle wheel comes down. I've also taken apart the paddle wheel and got to paint that. Oof. Oh man, this stuff drips. I guess we'll have to touch up the bottom paint. So up in here, because the paddle wheel sticks down a little bit, it says you got to paint inside 1.25 inches. The outside of the housing. Outside, inside, paddle wheel, a little spinny thing. Does dry quick. Safe for plastics. It's Pettit transducer paint, $32.59 at the Napa Valley Marina chandlery. So I tied up the paddle wheel on a little piece of wire. So that should be about it. We get a second coat on tomorrow. Sounds like it's starting to rain again. It's a good thing we tarped off this boat. We got lucky the first 2 weeks. We didn't see a drop of rain. In fact, it hit 90 degrees up here. We got to do some bottom paint touch up tomorrow just to finish the black. Roll on some stuff here where I got some drips and spatters. Beautiful. All right, so we got the transducer installed, and now I got to put the paddle wheel, which is the plug, and then there's also a blanking safety plug to go in the transducer. I was able to get the old one out and thought we were in good shape as far as being able to swap this thing out while we're in the water, but unfortunately I'm coming to find out that based on the clearance of the floorboards right here, this thing has to go up and tilt at an angle. You can't do it with the actual water stopper. So there's a valve in here. This goes in first and screws down with one of these nuts, a bigger one than this. This goes in. This is what stops the water from coming into the boat. That stays on the bronze housing all the time, and then the plug comes out. But you have to take the ring out, you have to take the top cap off, you have to also simultaneously, as you're removing it, because of the diameter of the tube, you have to be able to tilt this thing out. The stopper valve and the paddle wheel have to come out simultaneously, which means you got 1.5 inch hole in your boat blowing water hard. I was thinking I could cut a hatch in here or something in the floorboards. Something else also occurred to me. They're a little expensive, but if there's a bronze deck plate that I can fit my hand down into, I could probably set a deck plate in here, recessed in so we don't stub our toe on it or something. I don't know. You got to put this in one assembly, and it's not very good. And if I'd have known that and probably thought through it a little harder, I was more likely to move the transducer forward into a hatch where we actually have a little better vertical clearance. Problem is locating the transducer. Typically, it's supposed to be pretty close to not necessarily the center line of the boat, but right here where the mast is the most logical and preferred location for the transducer. We never had speed when we had the old paddle wheel. We lost our depth gauge, was flaking out on us when we were bringing it up to the marina to haul out. And we also never had water temperature with the old Ray transducer. So the new transducer at least gives us depth and temperature. So the assembly here is the 3 pieces plus the ring. There's some silicone lube. That's what makes the seal in the bronze housing. So this thing goes in first. It is direction oriented. It can only go in one way. Forward arrow is this way. This goes to the back because the cable for the sonar and temperature comes up the back side of the transducer. Get it kind of situated like this. Because of the clearance of the floorboard, you can't have the top nut on the assembly together.
Don't they get separate nuts?
Yes, there's one on the cable that locks this flapper valve in place.
Okay. So
then there's one that locks this plug to the flapper valve. It's a hoot. This thing slides down, and once you get to like this point where the flapper goes in, you got to line the cable up with the backside and keep the plunger out of the way. 10 minutes later.
Seriously?
So this is the big nut that holds the plunger in. I'm mostly doing this by feel. There's some tabs. There's little ears on this thing, and you're supposed to safety wire it. So then I'm gonna have to route safety wire on this thing. Now for the top nut that holds the plunger in place. I don't even know that I'm going to install this key ring. There's no reason for it because I'm going to put the safety wire on it. Yeah, there's our wonderful transducer installed. I won't be able to test it until we put it back in the water because you need water for the sonar to work.
Check it off the list.
Next one. Moving on.